Everybody, welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. I'm Tex Homer. That is my main man, Ian Boyd. We're going to discuss unlocking the Texas wide receiver room, moving pieces around to see where we can get our best results. Before we do that, I want you to head over to Inside Texas. Join for just $1. Hell of a deal. The link to sign up is right below this video in the description. All right, Ian. Wide receivers, I like that you've been thinking about such a thing because we're going to need some cool stuff here. All right, leading off the bat, set the stage for us in your introduction here. Good morning, Roaster.
Well, there's a lot of preamble in the beginning, but the big question is when Texas plays in 11 personnel, one running back, one tight end, three receivers, spread personnel, which they'll probably do a lot, and hopefully they are extremely proficient in, because I think that's the best way to unlock Arch Manning. When they do that, who goes where? It's not really who. I think we know who. Although I noticed in the comments that some people assumed that Masunis would be the starting tight end in 11 personnel and not Nick Townsend. So probably some off-season explanations to do on Nick Townsend's role next year. But it'll be Nick Townsend at tight end. And then
Masunis in 12.
Masunis will join in 12. Yeah, they may have some other stuff too, but that's not for today. And then the three receivers in 11 personnel are almost certainly Ryan Wingo, Cam Coleman, and Emmett Mosley. The interesting question is who plays slot?
We know where Cam's going to be. Cam's going to be on the outside, spare a few interesting designs.
Yeah, Coleman will be predominantly outside, because why would he go anywhere else?
Right. His skill set is great outside, and also his impact is great outside on a defense.
Yeah. Now they will probably slide him inside every now and then.
Sure.
But mostly just to take a deep shot from a different angle. Like if you're the other team and you see Coleman ends up in the slot for either because he motions there or somebody motions outside to put him in the slot, then your safeties need to be like on high alert, like
alarm bells.
Cover Cam Coleman, please. That's easy. So now we know Townsend will be one of the inside receivers. We know Coleman will be one of the outside guys. So then that leaves Wingo and Mosley. And those dynamics are not very simple and kind of interesting in terms of who does what and who goes where.
And they both represent kind of the two different slot archetypes, right? You have your kind of traditional get to a spot guy, win the route, and then you have your speed slot.
2 out of 3 archetypes, maybe, I would say.
Your third archetype, like a big,
like a deep threat slot.
Well, yeah. I guess you could say deep threat speed slot or screen slot, like variations of speed.
We would hope that Wingo could be both of those, right?
Yeah.
But he's not been the deep threat kind. He's been the flex running back kind.
Yeah. If he can unlock the deep portion,
that's the real thing.
Actor Ian.
I don't think so. Everybody keeps asking this, and I admit I haven't watched him a ton. But like, who's the last freshman that was a huge factor for Texas at receiver with Worthy? Is Worthy, right? And that's it. And Worthy
was kind of in a weird spot where Sark like handpicked him, and that wide receiver room wasn't developed in the scheme or developed at all.
Yeah, they didn't have anybody.
Yeah,
and he was special also.
Well, we keep hearing it. They want to get Bishop involved, and then I'm like that. That's great, but if he's not second string for sure at slot, then Sark just struggles to work those guys in. I think maybe with how they're talking about him and how they cut all the freshmen last year who didn't perform that they paid highly, that the guys they are paying higher this year coming in, they're going to try to design something. I love Bishop. I think he's awesome. He's already a fan favorite, so that's got to be nice for him.
This is the kind of thing that
I don't see the impetus or the need necessarily
Yes.
to force this, even though it would be cool. I'm good with what we have. And then if Bishop gets some design or something like that, great. And if he goes and balls out, great. I just haven't seen Sark ever utilize a lot of depth at that position. I just haven't. Maybe he changes.
It doesn't. It's the juice is not worth the squeeze at this point in his career, because like, what are we looking at him to be? Is it to be like a sort of flex gadget player that can score in one play if you get him the ball in space?
Right.
Well, they have Ryan Niblett. They have Ryan Wingo.
I was going to say Wingo over Niblett, because I'd say Bishop has more receiver skill than a Niblett does. I wouldn't say he's not pure gadget. Like, he's legit a wide receiver.
Okay, but so then if he's a pure wide receiver, who do you put him in for at receiver?
That's what I was going to say. You play him at slot generally, even though I advise putting him out at like Z, traditional Z. I don't know if that's Sark Z, but field receiver off ball. Just so he can get in the 2 deep. Because if he'll be third at slot right now. So, and I just haven't seen a third string slot ever play for Sark. So that's my key. I really like Bishop. I think he has a bright future. I just think it's going to be a little awkward. And if you do get him in, you're going to have to kind of force the issue and game plan that week that Bishop has these series in which we throw the ball here to him. You should watch him though. He's exciting, and he's a baller, man. I get why fans are excited. My only thing holding it back is just what I've seen from Sark.
I mean,
all right,
if he's really good, then he'll have to push Mosley or Wingo to the bench.
Right.
So I don't know, like, who are people saying is going to get sent to the bench? The person that
whoever's the slot,
whoever's the end of the article.
Yeah, whoever the starting slot is would be the one that would get sent to the bench, even though I think that he could play field receiver. Okay.
Well, okay. Here's the trick also, is that there's really no difference for Sark. There's like literally no difference. Because those two guys trade places all the time. I even looked through an old Alabama playbook while I was writing this article for like how does he tend to involve the H as a receiver versus how does he intend to involve the Z as a receiver? Because I was like, I need to see like if there's like any major themes to like the H is going to do more of this, the Z is going to do more of this. Guess what I found, Connor?
What?
There was like 2 versions of every single freaking play. And in one, the H is the slot and does the slot thing, and the Z is outside. And then the other, the Z goes to the slot, and the H does what the Z was doing.
I think last year how it broke down, I think it was if you were an outside receiver, you would be in the slot 25% of the time. So you're going to get a quarter of your reps in the slot here if you see. So Wingo was in the slot 25%, Emmett 23%, Livingston 21%. So about a quarter of your reps. If you're an outside receiver, you're gonna end up in the slot.
Where's DeAndre Moore? How often was he in the slot?
He was in about 78% of the time. So the slot guy's in the slot about 75% of the time, and then 25% of the time, the outside receiver will go into the slot. So that's that can change, but that's more positional flexibility than you usually see with outside receivers. It's not 50-50. It's not 50-50, but you're still going to see it a fair amount. But whoever does get dictated the quote-unquote slot, unless they change something up, and they could, will be there about 75% of the time.
They Sark will play his receivers inside where a spread team would put a slot. He'll put his outside receiver because he's like, well, now they have some of that same 2-way go spacing if I do that. And he'll use the extreme veer and shoot splits, but usually they don't stay there. He'll like line them way out wide where it's like maybe Mosley is way outside the hash marks, right? And then Wingo is even further outside to like the numbers. and there's no one in between for like a huge swath of grass, right? Then he'll motion Wingo inside, have him run towards the formation, and then turn upfield from the slot at the snap. And now all of a sudden he's a slot receiver running a deep inside vertical route against a defense that is adjusting at the last minute to align to him. And he's got a full sprint basically worked up to run by people. So they do all kinds of stuff, and receivers are just receivers. They're not as they're not as typecast. It's not as cookie cutter in Sark's offense, which is all the more reason why Bishop is going to have a lot of trouble finding the field, because Sark would have to invest a ton of reps and time into teaching him all the different ways he uses to feature a receiver. And then if you're doing that, how are you doing that when you're also trying to emphasize reps and snaps for Ryan Wingo and Emmett Mosley and Cam Coleman and Dalen McCutcheon, who you'd like to keep around?
So that's where Dalen McCutcheon is number 2 in the slot, right? So it's like he's backing up whoever wins out of Wingo and Mosley. So where does that put Bishop at third string? And like I said, I haven't seen a third string receiver play for Sark, and so
they could put McCutcheon outside. They could put McCutcheon outside.
Well, I want to put Bishop. Well, no, he's the slot, but it's like that's his thing. But it's like you could put Bishop at that number 2 field receiver, and now he's in the 2 deep, and now you can see him, and then you have Khalil Lockett behind Cam. So now you have 6 across, and that makes sense to me. But I don't like Bishop stacked up at the 3rd spot there, just because of what we've seen. I think we're underrating how polished Bishop is. I love Bishop. Anytime we talk about this, it sounds like we're like, knocking Bishop, and it's like that's just not the case. I love him, but it's Sark's offense, which we're going on year 6 of, and we've seen one freshman play significantly, and then we never see somebody who's potentially at a 3rd string there, especially when you have Dalen McCutcheon, who the coaches really, really like and are always talking about how much they like him. I know we haven't seen it as fans on the field yet, but that's where it's complicated. But that's why I'm trying to force Bishop into the Z role, so he's actually officially in the 2 deep and we can see him. My buddy coached him at Willis and said he's the most dynamic player he's seen in the Houston area in the last 8 to 10 years. He's awesome. But still, you have all of these well-paid receivers. Mosley was brought in. That's important. Cam Coleman was brought in. Wingo, they've been in love with since day one, even throughout his struggles. So there's just a lot of guys here that have been around and have experience too. So Bishop's awesome. And I don't know what I saw him play defense. He's a smart player. He was going both ways, but for some reason, Sark is really, really hard on the wide receivers, and he's really strict about that rotation in ways that he's not necessarily with other guys. He's very hard on that position for whatever reason.
They just have to learn so many things, and it has to be precise and it has to be executed cleanly, or else you're going to get back into your, why do we have so many penalties?
Well, and Chris Jackson, he's looking for blocking too. And that's a factor. Bishop's a smaller guy.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. So it's like Bishop's a smaller guy there. So I don't doubt that they'll design some, hey, this week we're going to have a Bishop series, and he might go and score. But I just don't know about down to down year 1, or especially maybe later. But that's just my trepidation with Bishop.
Give me John Johnson, 1997 in the comments.
Ryan Wingos.
No, John Johnson. John Johnson.
5 wide sets.
Yeah. This is obviously a little tongue in cheek, but I love 5 wide. I want Texas to do way more 5 wide next year. But when you do 5 wide, you do it from 11 and you flex out your tight end and your running back. Otherwise, the other team just ignores your run game and they start calling all sorts of tricky defense and gimmick defense, and they put all their pass rushers in, they put all their defensive backs in.
Here comes
you want to do it from 11 personnel so that they have on first down, so that they have their run stopping personnel on the field, and then you flex them out, and then you attack linebackers and you attack safeties. And Texas has the guys to do this. So there's no point in playing 5 wide with actual receivers. You want to do it from, you'd even like the Patriots won that Super Bowl against the Rams by getting into 5 wide from 21 personnel. So Gronkowski, some fullback whose name we've all forgotten, running back, and 2 receivers. One of them was Edelman. And so then they had the Rams in like run stopping personnel. They flex all these blockers out, and then they could pick and choose who had to cover Edelman. And it would be somebody that had no prayer of doing it. That's how you use empty. You don't want to do it. You don't want to actually flood the
You don't
field.
want to be in 10 personnel, so they match your personnel with speed, and then your mismatches aren't there.
Yes.
You want to generate that. All right, before we talk Wingo, here's a quick word from Academy.
You can't guard me? You need a break to L tonight. Do you need a break? Come on!
Ben! Your mom called. Looks like you're stuck with us tonight.
Let's go! Give me a shred.
Ian, you notice they use handheld camera there, shaking slightly on the edges to give more energy to the basketball playing, right? That's just a little filmmaking for you. Good work, Academy. You really were able to dictate the feel with small details. All right, Ryan Wingo's.
I thought the actor depictions of young boys was also quite accurate.
Yeah, dude, I told Eric yesterday when we showed it, I was like, that was a big moment, dude. Whenever it was like, you can spend the night, you're like, oh, this is big, dude. I was like, right before Blockbuster ended is when I was in my youth. So it's like, let's hit the Blockbuster. Let's get some Pizza Hut. Let's do this right. All right. Ryan Wingo's role here. Ian, what did you notice as you studied Mr. Wingo?
You stepped on it a little bit earlier, but Wingo has basically ended up becoming a sort of flex running back sort of slot, the Percy Harvin type of slot, where it's like, here's a speed guy. We're going to formation ways that he can get out into space, so we can just give him the ball in as clean and simple a manner as possible, where it's not, we're going to make it where the emphasis is on what he can do with the ball in his hands rather than a true receiver. What can I do to get open? We're going to get him open real close to the quarterback and then let him do something with the ball in his hands.
Catch and run versus run and catch. All right.
Good. I need to remember that. That was obviously the way to say that.
Yeah, well, that's one of my signatures. I've been using that for about 2 years. I can pull it out whenever I need it.
That's
all right.
efficient.
Yep. All right. So, and we saw that. I can't show you the clips here, but just, throw it out to Mississippi State and he houses it, right? Throw it out versus Vanderbilt and he houses it. Now, what's the difference with Ryan Wingo is he has the outside receiver build, which is remarkable to have this level of speed and athleticism in that frame. And it worked. What did you notice here? And what does your chart say, brother?
So games 1 through 7, which is the games leading up to Mississippi State, he had a catch rate of, catch rate is the completion percentage on targets to Wingo was 48%, which is not good. Really not good. And he was averaging 6.4 yards per target. Yards per target is a really tricky number because like 6.4 yards per carry would be amazing.
Yeah.
But the trick is that the inconsistency of it makes the math work very differently. If you're averaging 6.4 yards per carry, that means if you hand the ball 2 times in a row, you're going to get a first down or close to it generally. Whereas with a receiver, at 48% completion rate, you throw it to him 2 times in a row, and now it's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4. So it just doesn't add up the same way. Good yards per target would be like a 9 and up.
Yeah.
8 and up is okay if you're a volume guy that's like scoring, but 9 and up is a lot better. That's like the mark of, I would say that's the bar you want to hit.
And the irony here, right, is
very below.
And the irony is that they're targeting him deeper too, right? When he's getting 6.4. So
Yes.
somehow he's getting targeted for less yards and ending up with more yards, which shows his ability after the catch.
Yeah.
And his lack of ability trying to go downfield, at least at that point in his career. So we make the move and things go better. He goes from 6.4 yards per target to 10.7. Now we're talking, even though he's getting 10.7, basically being thrown the ball like a yard negative of the line of scrimmage, right?
And his targets are still up, and they still take some deep shots to him.
Yeah.
But this is game 8 and on is when they started like opening every single game with the quick pass to the quick screen to Wingo, culminating in the predictable and ineffective double pass against A&M.
We had been the funniest part is when they started to do that, we're like, we're waiting for the double pass, right? And then finally the moment came, and we were not. The moment was too big for us, but it was like you could see it coming.
A&M saw it coming a mile away.
Well, everyone could see it coming. We were like, now you wait for the double pass eventually, and they can know it's coming, but you don't always know which game it's going to be. So we get these.
So if you scroll up to the first one, I know we can't play it, but he's on the bottom. Yep. And he is going to motion across. It's actually an unbalanced formation.
Yeah.
Because you have to have 7 guys on the line of scrimmage at all times. And so the first 2 receivers on the top are on the line of scrimmage, and then the 5 offensive linemen. But you can only have 1 guy outside of the offensive line on the line of scrimmage who's eligible to catch a pass. Anybody that's in between, so the guy on top in the slot is ineligible to run a route. Because he's covered by the outside receiver. So it's sort of a giveaway that something's up. We're both on the line of scrimmage so that Wingo can get off the line of scrimmage without it being a penalty because you still have 7.
It's a giveaway to the coaches that see it, but in game, I don't think players recognize it that well.
The good ones that
maybe, but it's like the reality is the safety's on the number 2 receiver here, regardless. So it's like it's one of those things that coaches will notice, but it's not necessarily. You can hide it. That's how you sneak offensive linemen out for touchdowns. I would use my point is I would use the dead receiver more often because I just don't think in the heat of the moment or if you're in hurry up that they actually are able to calculate that consistently, especially when you start playing around with that stuff in the core. I think it's a valuable trick.
And the core is good. The local high school here has a tight end who's awesome, who's as big as the offensive tackles. And so they'll put the left tackle outside the right tackle. So it's double, it's tackle over.
Yeah.
And then they play the tight end at left tackle.
Yeah.
And then they release him down the field on a pop pass.
That's awesome.
They do it all the time. And it's like, if you're not paying strict attention to the numbers, he looks like an offensive tackle.
Right.
It's deadly. But honestly, good college defenders should be able to see this. Honestly, they don't. They
generally don't. That's why I think it's really.
They do. If you watch, I mean, especially when they play teams that use it more heavily.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I get it. If you're a team that does it a bunch, the coaches are going to be harping on it all week. But if you break it out like 3 out of 80 plays, I think you can really get away with stuff, and you'll end up burning a safety on a slot that's not even eligible. So I just think it's a good tool that should be used more often, as Sark is using here. So Wingo goes in motion into the slot here, the first slot.
Yeah, and they just hit him when he gets across. They just hit him on like an orbit screen or a bubble screen behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And off to the races. Very simple. So he's actually lined up outside. This is going to be a theme in this article. He's actually lined up outside, but then he motions to the slot.
All right, next play.
This one, they have, I think the tight end is flexed on bottom as like the outside guy. So 7 are on the line, and then Wingo and the slot are both in the backfield. And this is the other thing with 11 personnel, people. You can play tricks like this in 11 personnel and get Wingo way inside, running all kinds of slot tricks without having to sub in extra receivers. So he's like about to come in motion here. He's the 3rd guy from the bottom. And he goes up to the top and catches like a tunnel screen or a slip screen behind the offensive line and then takes off.
The screen game is going to be important. Screen design. When I watch the NFL schematics, they're like, it's all about who designs the dopest screens now to extend the run game.
Sark has been way ahead in dope screen designs.
Yeah, he is. That's
For
one
a
of his
while.
strengths. Yeah, and that's going to be really important. He's an awesome designer of screens for sure.
He when the what are those guys? The OU guys, OU breakdown guys, were talking Sark before last year's Red River Shootout. They were constantly talking about how good he is at having, like, he'll come into a week and he'll show you a run in a formation you haven't seen before. It'll be like power, counter, whatever, but it'll be like a specific version from a new formation. And then they'll have a play action shot from that same formation and the same run action. And they'll have some kind of nasty screen from the same formation and the same run action. And they'll hit you with all of them in some various sequence.
Yeah, Sark's design is awesome. It's he's able to make things look the same while introducing new stuff that look the same in game. Ask this: who would be the flexed out tight end, Winston or Townsend?
Like, so in this example here, it would be Townsend.
Yeah.
Unless
I think people are just asking because we've said it too. Is like, can Townsend not be a dummy? Like, when you put the tight end at outside receiver, you're just trying to play schematically. You're not getting the ball to him, or he's gonna lead block, right? So
yes.
I think that is the question, that if you actually put Townsend in the slot and he has to run a route, I think that's what me and you still want to see from him, right? We know he can do the slice action and hit guys, or even fake the slice and then head out and catch a flat route. But the question is, do we have that receiver like an Injuries who can line up in the slot and run the post?
In my article, spread 501, like highest level of spread offensive play, you're actually better off with a good blocking tight end that knows how to flex out and run routes, but is not Travis Kelce when in the college game. The guy that's a great tight end, receiving tight end, but not a good blocker, does not have the same impact as a good blocker that can line up in different places and just do a simple job in the receiving game effectively. And Nick Townsend is exactly that, because at this point, he's been first and foremost a ferocious blocker.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to get better at it.
He has incredible track speed for him.
Yes, he's fast. He's the sort of athlete where you'd expect him to be like the next Travis Kelce, but that's not how he plays.
Yeah.
That's not, and he's not developed as a route runner yet. So, but then it just makes it all the more devastating where, like, you have to have run stopping personnel if Townsend is on the field, because he's going to give Sark the full gamut of 11 personnel run game. You can run all of it because your tight end's a good blocker. You don't have to protect or hide your tight end in the blocking game. And then when he does flicks out, not only do you have to cover him because it's like, well, we can't just let him run down the field.
Yeah, it's 10-9 speed, yeah.
But it's also that, yeah. So it's like, not only do we have to, like, pay, like, a little bit of attention to him, you might have to pay real attention to him. Because if he comes over on a screen or they throw it to him on a hitch and you're barely leveraged, all of a sudden you're in real trouble because, like you said, he's a 10-9, 100-meter guy.
But it's also too, and I might be overselling the route running on my end. Normally I always will undersell it. I think it's that important. But if you're just putting a tight end in the slot with 10-9 and you're saying run the seam, there's not a ton of reps you need. There's not a ton of change of direction that we're asking from him, right? So it's like he can. Well, you're not though. Like a post, you're gonna have to run 10-9 and then hit your stick. You might set up one move, but if you run a seam, you're just up there and catching it. It's not the level of skill you would need underneath a slant or a mesh type thing. You just get and go. Those kind of tight end slot routes or a sit down, it's not a very advanced tree as far as change of direction. There's a little bit of setting up.
If that were true, wouldn't Ryan Wingo have caught some of those balls last year?
I think that's kind of a Ryan Wingo thing, though.
I think it's harder than you're making it.
And of course, it's harder than I'm making it, but I'm saying it's not. It's when we're talking about advanced routes, a tight end's not running the advanced routes, and a tight end's not always running the same routes as a slot. Slot will go and break out and those kind of things. They do more change of direction, but a tight end slot doesn't. They're generally getting to a spot or they sit down. So it's like when I'm saying, can Nick do it because he doesn't have the route skill? I don't know if I shouldn't be grading him on what a 140 pounder would be asked to run in that situation. Like he can run up the seam today.
I think he could be effective at that clearing out coverage. I don't know about getting open. I don't know about getting open.
Well, I need to also just see his hands downfield and that factor too. But I think he can run more routes than I'm giving him credit for, because I don't think the routes are super advanced if you're 10-9. And if you can go up and get it, but I don't know.
I get inside scoop on Townsend sometimes. And while I think he has every ability to do that, it's just not what he's coming into Texas. That's not where he had been developed. And that's not something that was like, that's all new to him.
Yeah. All right.
Good question. Jackson Miles, is Townsend a catch and run or run and catch? Catch and run.
Catch and run right now.
Which is fine. If you remember, if you go watch your Jatavian Sanders highlights at Texas, you're going to see a lot of catch and run. More catch and run than run and catch, probably.
Yeah.
And so you can just bring back the Jatavian Sanders playbook. Only this time he's a better blocker.
But just a little deadly, like I said, just the slice action where he fakes the block and just goes to the flat, and then you get it to him, and now he runs 10-9, and he's big. So it's like that's enough, man. Especially like we saw it in the red zone, right, where Sark did the handoff to him, and no one was even within his area code. It's perfect in the red zone. That's what OU would kill us with on these little tight end routes in the red zone. They would disguise them as blockers basically the whole drive until they got down to the 3, and then they would just dump it off. It's a really, really effective use of that type of tight end. All righty. I watched Winston in high school. He doesn't have great speed, but he looks the most natural with the ball in his hand. I mean, those were the reports too, that he was the most natural at finding the zone, sitting down, awareness of defenses. So that was why it was a bummer that he got hurt. I think Winston could have a role here, and he might be the most natural receiving tight end, not like pure speed, like you said, but finding zones and sitting down. That might be the case. But for now, it's likely going to be Townsend and then Mizunis in 12. Do we miss any pieces of Wingo here, Ian?
So we have established that he's a great catch and run guy. He's sort of a de facto slot in that sense, because he's going to do his best work when he can move around in the backfield off the ball and catch it quick. Ideally, they could start hitting him on drags this year after missing him last year, and on crossers.
Right. That'd be nice.
And I don't know that we were hoping last year that Wingo would go from like explosive athlete to skilled deep threat, and we banked a lot on it, and it did not happen.
Yeah. I
don't think year 2, it's like, well, now he'll be skilled deep threat. I think now you're like, you know what? We skipped a step, and that was just more well-rounded actual receiver. So it's like, well, we've established that he's a weapon in space. Now let's see if we can let's see if we can increase the number of spaces that he can be a weapon in. Right. And then,
while occasionally sending him deep and seeing what can happen.
Yeah, but especially sending him deep in motion into the slot or out of the slot or whatever, where he's like on a run before on those cheat motions where they start running lateral to the sideline, and then at the snap they turn upfield. Yeah. Such a great little trick, and he's perfect for it because he's fast.
Yeah, he's huge too. All right, before we talk Emmett Mosley, my guy Mosley's role, let's hear a word from David McClellan.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
Thank you very much, David. Ryan Nelson says, I really want to see Khalil Lockett and Cam Coleman on the field at the same time. Potential could be massive. Just look at what Indiana did with big bodies.
Yeah. I think Khalil Lockett and Cam Coleman on the field at the same time in Indiana's offense would be very effective. And Texas, I mean, just to get to throwing back shoulder fades to Coleman would be a huge step in that direction for Sark, much less putting two people like that on the field at the same time.
Right.
That's not not going to happen. That's not what they're going to do.
Yeah.
But it could be. I agree that those guys are both that sort of dude. Mosley kind of is too, though. So you don't even necessarily need Lockett on the field with Coleman and Mosley both out there.
Yeah, I just don't think Sark would think I need two big guys on the outside to throw it up to. I think Sark would be like, I want one, and then I can use this other guy to move around and play chess with, and da-da-da-da. And then I can go deep, and then there's a screen I can throw to Wingo, and then the run action goes this way. That's kind of Sark's thought. He just doesn't have the simplicity. I mean, he would throw just spam fades to Worthy. So I guess it's there, but I also think that version of Sark was in a different place where he basically was like, all I have is Worthy, and what he has is speed. But I love Khalil Lockett, man. I loved him in high school. He's my favorite pickup. I think he can absolutely do that. But I don't think Sark would simplify, even though I think if you could do it, why not? It's just not his style.
Yep.
Jackson, will you clarify? Are there any potential tells on offense y'all might be worried about? What are you asking there? Are you asking like emotion displays what the play is going to be? What do you mean by tells in that regard?
I don't think so. I think that in general, Sark is so design heavy. Like he designs so many plays where, and when you are designing a play for itself, you're going to put pieces in places to maximize that individual design. And if you ran that same play like 5 times in a game, the other team's going to catch on, right? What Sark does to get around that is he has like 15, 20 plays like that. So you don't catch on. So even though each play, everybody is put in the formation and then the route that maximizes the effectiveness of that play, and it's like a one-read shot a lot of times. It's not like you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. It's like we're going to do all this stuff and we're going to do this one thing, right?
Yeah.
Sark has a million play designs like that are really effective, and his volume of them is what gets people. But as I've been saying, when you play Oklahoma in the rivalry game and they've been watching your film 2 days a week for the entire offseason and the entire regular season, then you start to get diminishing returns because now they know by your formation what your design is. And when you get into the playoffs and teams are all in on film study and preparation, and they have maybe 2 weeks or 10 days to prepare, you start to have that problem again. Probably against A&M as well. Maybe against Georgia if you play them off a bye, or if you play them when Kirby Smart's backed into a corner because he already lost to Lane Kiffin. So I think there's diminishing returns to that style when it comes to big games and postseason ball. And
versus the Indiana method of like, we're going to throw the fade. We're just going to be better than you at it. You know it's coming, but we're going to out execute you. Is that the inverse?
Well, yeah. I mean, Indiana plays more like execution-based offense. We have less formations and plays. Each play has multiple options. If you do this, we go here. If you do this, we go here. Mendoza makes the right decision, etc. So I think that does play better in the postseason. I wonder if we went back, if we go through Sark's career, if we would find diminishing returns against big games or playoff games, if we would see that in the record or not. Probably not. Although I don't think he has like an amazing postseason record.
So with some time to look, you won't be as overwhelmed. But if you're on, watching tape for 2 days and then having to implement game plan like a regular week, then he can absolutely overwhelm you with the amount of looks he can get to the same thing.
Yeah, or if he just has time to throw some new stuff in. Like when they rematched Georgia in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
They had him on the ropes a little bit because they had a bunch of fresh designs throwing the ball that Georgia hadn't seen yet. But it, wasn't. They couldn't convert in the red zone, so it didn't matter. But it was much closer game partly because of that.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Emmett Mosley's role as a potential slot. What's the chart here saying, Ian?
At the same time that Wingo became established as the run and catch guy, Mosley started to find a role as a primary, like not quite volume target, but like a primary chain moving route runner guy. So you can see like these are all the games he played where he had 6 targets or more. And it's just the November games at the end of the year after they were like, okay, we have to be spread and Wingo has to be a gadget guy against Mississippi State. And so I guess, I don't know, in some ways, he also was building trust to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But in some ways, it was probably like, we need to start using Mosley when we're actually running like a passing play where we need the receiver to reliably get to a spot and hit him, and stop using Wingo for that as much and use Wingo more strictly as like a force multiplier, big play weapon. And Mosley did well in that role, except for that A&M game was not so great.
Do you know why? Was he just the corner was doing great against him? What do you know the reason why he wasn't effective? I didn't watch him specifically in that context.
Press man coverage erased him.
Was it their big corner? Will Lee
guarded him. I don't know. Nobody could get open for Texas against A&M.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Everybody was crying about defensive pass interference, but it was just physical press.
They're just getting locked up.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably some pass interference in there, but that's like any team that plays press.
How much do we need to disadvantage DBs, man? Like they're already so let those guys play, man. As long as they're not tackling you 40 yards downfield, whatever, man. And then you rarely see the OPI where the receiver leans into him and then starts it. I get annoyed with how impossible we make it to play DB. All right. Any other keys here to the Mosley selection? Who do you like ultimately at this slot role?
So Mosley is sort of a traditional slot, like get open at the chains kind of guy, but he can play outside and he can play on the line of scrimmage. So probably where this lands is that I think Wingo.
Where I think it should land and where it will land in my mind are different.
I think Mosley is going to be the slot.
So do I.
But I think they're going to play him on the line of scrimmage at like the hash marks a lot. And Wingo like may start outside of him. He may motion inside of him. He may motion back outside of him. And they'll keep Wingo off the ball.
Right.
So that he can move around and present different threats. And then that serves Wingo better. And then because it serves Wingo well, it'll also make it easier for Mosley.
And if you have Mosley wider, like you said, like a wider slot, then Wingo go inside of him, and then Mosley can become the de facto outside receiver and still run that outside route.
Yeah.
So
Mosley also, well, actually, they're both kind of good blockers. Mosley is a good blocker for the screens to Wingo. Wingo showed against Michigan that he was good at motioning into the backfield to lead block on duo. Which is not that hard because usually you're blocking like a corner or something, but he's good at it. He's big. Wingo is. So I think that'll be the breakdown.
Yeah, even though it feels like we're like, well, then play Wingo in the slot from what we've seen, it's still, I think, Mosley in the slot, Wingo as the Z move wide receiver. That way he can go anywhere, and you can still, most importantly, you're not wasting an outside receiver. Mosley can still run a route that's outside and deep. And then you get the blocking addition.
Oh, go ahead.
Why did we let Moore leave? Was it just too competitive between Moore and Mosley? So Moore wanted to renegotiate. He's negotiated every year, not knocking him for that. But what he was asking for and what he thought he could get in the market didn't make sense. And so they said, look, we like Mosley and we like McCutcheon. And then also we would like to free up some of that money for Cam Coleman too, right? So basically Moore was able to leave. There wasn't like any hard feelings or anything like that. It just made more sense for Texas to have two slots they liked and then use repurpose money on a Cam Coleman contract. So it was just made sense business-wise type of thing. It wasn't some dramatic event.
Same for Livingston, although it seems like so Livingston's output in contributions like plummeted at the same time as those positive trends above for Wingo and Mosley. And so I think Livingston was like, I'm getting edged out here. This sucks. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's like, you don't really, I would have been very sad to see Livingston go because I think he had potential. I don't know if he was ever going to be quite as good as Texas wants its wide receivers to be, but he was definitely already good and potentially great. But it would have been nice to be like, okay, he's going to go to like a SMU or something and it can go root for him like Shane Buechele.
Right. Yeah, you go to OU, then it's just like
now it's like
persona non grata.
Put a bounty on him in the Red River shootout almost, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And then that little the gamesmanship of like, man, I love Texas, but I got pushed out. And it's just like, all right, man, that wasn't the way to do it, man. Because you were a fan favorite too. I mean, you had your brothers doing like TikTok shorts and all that. I just haven't seen a player go from like good graces to like screw you like that, like within a 3-day range like that.
Who was advising him on that?
Yeah.
He needs to make sure he has an agent who will be slaving away for better PR, not something dumb like that.
Yeah, it's like, man. And and it just from what I heard too, this is like that wasn't the case. If you're asking for a little too much, and then clearly they're telling you that they like these other receivers. I understand it from his end of like, hey, I think I'm a really good receiver. I don't know if I'm going to be guaranteed that starting spot next year. If I go to OU, I can just kind of get the ball and be a welcome prime target. I get that thought process. I wish you would have picked another school where you could have been a prime target. But yeah, the Livingston one is different than Moore. I definitely have a more of a bitter taste when it comes to Livingston than I do with Moore. Moore,
I think he's a good fit there, and I think he may have some success.
So do I.
Credit to Livingston for that, I guess. But we're not now. We can't enjoy it with him.
Right. If you went pretty much anywhere else, we would have been like, hey man, congrats.
There was another question. EMV equals Puka Nacua. Would that be a bad comparison? This is Dre McCohen. Yes, it's a bad comparison because Puka is like one of the best players in the world, and Mosley is not. The specific breakdown is that Nacua is, I want to say, quicker. Let's pull up his combine real quick. He's like a warrior. He's like one of those like speeds accelerates into contact sorts of people. A lot of the Pacific Islanders play football like that. It's part of what makes them so effective. They have like naturally great bone density. And then they also have this like warrior I'm going to run through you ethos too that plays well in football. Have you seen those clips of that sport that they have now where two guys just run into each other?
Yeah.
The guys that are doing it well are like always like Maori dudes or some kind of Pacific Islander that's just like running through
It's
another
the
dude.
dumbest sport I've ever seen in my life.
It's-
Now I will watch it when it comes on the timeline. There's something like in the caveman where you're like, yeah, I got to see that. But you're also just like, there is no upside. There's no fame. There's no money to this sport. I mean, it's just all downside of you're not going to be able to walk.
Oh, here we go.
when you're
Finally.
older.
All right. Puka Nakua, 6'2"-ish, 201 pounds at the combine, 4.57 40, 33-inch vertical jump, 4.36 shuttle. He's not like a.
I thought the whole thing on him is that he's not this uber athlete in the combine, and that's why everyone passed on him. And then they just missed that he has the wide receiver understanding and know-how. I thought that was the whole take. I don't watch enough NFL to know. I've only
Was
seen
it great? But 4.57 is really, really good.
a 4.57.
Yeah. That's like, I mean, Ed Reed ran like a 4.59.
Yeah, Ed Reed.
If you play fast,
It's a
like,
different position.
Yeah, but no one ever watched Ed Reed and was like, if only he were faster.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, but definitionally, he's slower for a wide receiver at 4.57.
4.57 is not.
It for an NFL wide receiver, 4.57 is absolutely on the low end.
But it's not that. It's not like slow.
I mean, it's on the back half of fast.
Right. Check it out. Cooper Kupp. What do you think Cooper Kupp ran at the in the 40?
I have no idea.
Cooper Kupp ran a 4.62.
Yeah, that's slow.
Jerry Rice, obviously, similar. They play fast.
I mean, I know you can name guys, but like go look at just Google what's the average combine speed for a wide receiver.
No, but when you know what you're doing,
I agree. I think that's the whole point is they passed on him on the combine because he wasn't impressive without evaluating that he clearly knows what he's doing and make.
Yeah, but there's a huge difference between like 4.7, 4.8, 4.6 and up. If you know what you're doing and you play fast, you will look fast on the field at 4.6. 4.6 is very fast if it's consistently pointed in the right direction. That's my point.
I agree. But that was the whole thing on like NFL tape Twitter when Nakua started balling. They're all like, this is where they missed on because he's not impressive in the combine, but he's clearly a great wide receiver. And so, yeah, I agree. If you know what you're doing 100%, but the draft guys are so risk averse. If they can't justify you with a concrete metric and they have to use nuance to your play, they'll miss those guys. That's just how it is.
It's very tricky. It's a very tricky game trying to figure
They
that
get
out.
fired every 3 years, right? And so it's just they want to be able to verify everything with a metric. You don't have to run 4.4 to be a good receiver. Correct.
Yeah.
No one's saying that.
The thing is that the thing that bothers me is that my point is that 4.6 is a decent cutoff. If a guy that runs a 4.6 hits a seam, he will run away from just about everyone. You won't catch it. 4.6 is like a great cutoff for if you can hit a seam, if you can get open, you're going to do real damage in space with a 4.6 40. It's not slow in that sense. And then obviously the real skill is getting open in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's usually 40 only does so much good in getting open in the first place because you have to hit the right place with misdirection, with the right timing. Also, another tricky thing here is that a lot of these 40s are so inflated now.
It does annoy me because they train for it so much. It almost defeats the purpose to me. Where it's like if you just spent 6 months running 40s with they're training for the test, not the actual football game. And I just think that's silly as well. Like
That's part of it. I have
turns into a track event.
I think some of our speed enhancement technologies are maybe better also.
Yeah, for sure. They play football, not track. I always wondered why they don't make guys run the 40 in pads instead of underwear.
That would be really interesting to see that.
If I could do it, I don't know about pads. I mean, I'm not against pads, but I would just have them standing whatever position their position is starting from. That's what I would do. So if you're a wide receiver standing up on the line, I want you to start standing at the line. I don't want you bent over and firing out. If you're an offensive lineman and you want to test your 40, okay, let me see your 40 from the stance. Like, it needs to be in context. I understand that that will change times, and therefore it's hard to evaluate all positions because you've changed stances and times. But I think we're still advanced enough to understand that, okay, an O lineman's going to be slower because of this stance or whatever, and they're going to be slower in general. But it defeats the purpose for me when they go to these training clinics and you see them work just the 40 for 3 months. It doesn't really show me what I need to show. And also they'll lose that too, right? They're not repping 40s anymore. So like over years of time, that number doesn't even matter anymore. I do think it's weird that they do that. 3-cone drill is a better evaluation tool. I agree.
These are like hard and fast things. Like you can train to be better at a 40, but you can only run so fast even if you train. So I understand why they're valued. It's just, eventually it gets misleading, right? If you can't make it the
well, it's just like if you're on the slower end of wide receiver, of course there's some requisite, right? You can't run a 5.7, but when you're on the lower end of the average, then skill's going to be more involved. And there's also plenty of 4.4 guys where we've seen them that are track athletes and they suck, like they don't have any of the skill. So just because you're fast doesn't mean you're good, and just because you're slower doesn't mean you're bad. That's why I'm always harping on route running, right? Like Mosley's not the fastest player on the team, but I love his route running. He gets open better than anyone because of his skill.
And track is, it's not like track is useless. We have a track kid on my older kids flag team, and when he runs like a whip route, he just explodes out of the whip. It just looks different from all the other kids. And when he catches it, he's terrifying in space because he's so freaking twitchy and fast. Yeah. So it's like, that's what everybody's trying to find is that like natural elite twitch, because it makes an enormous difference. But then it's like, what if a guy is like really twitchy, but maybe not top shelf twitchy, but then he's super skilled or plays really smart or whatever. And then
you also have the guys that are getting smarter and monitoring not just the overall 40, but the acceleration the immediate acceleration portion. That can tell you a lot. So how quick can they get off the line opposed to, a track athlete running 100 meters? That's very different. Their top end speed. So there's different types of speed for what you need to do. And also the really impressive fast guys, they don't just accelerate the fastest, they decelerate the fastest. And so that's when those guys are deadly. When they can fire and then stop on a dime, that's when you start cooking dudes. It's not just about your top end speed. It's your change of direction and your ability to break down quickly too. That's a big factor.
Also, your ability to make decisions on like that in live action. Like some guys can train themselves to run a pre-planned move where they decelerate, stop, turn, go this way. And then other guys can be running, see an opportunity, decelerate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Our best offensive player on our flag team is probably like the third or fourth most athletic kid on offense. But he's got more of the he catches the ball very consistently. He actually does what I tell him to do, unlike some of the other ones. And those things put him over the top.
We're at an hour, Ian, but go ahead and tell the people. I know you can't tell opposing coaches, but what do you have in the game plan this week for flag football? What are you going to throw at these guys?
It'd probably be boring if I explained it.
Well, I think you said you're going to break down a little more trips, huh?
We live in trips. because teams play zones, and the best teams play zones where they are actually like working to defend space and not just players. So usually we play trips, but then we attack the open space, which is a trick I got from Lane Kiffin and Mike Gundy and some of those guys. Is that you line everybody up here, but you do it so that you can attack over there. So you line up over here, they follow you, they line up over there, and then all of a sudden you're flooding the open side.
Right.
And so they're adjusting to get to the space you're attacking at the same time that you're attacking it. And then I have.
Can you actually throw at that level? What can you throw? You can't throw the deep over, can you?
No, that's the other thing is I figured out real quick. It's the kids can do it. A lot of the kids can throw deep over, but you have to game plan every game as though you have Connor Stroh as your left guard, because you're not allowed to block. And the smart teams will put their fastest or one of their fastest or quickest kids at blitzer, and he's going to get to your quarterback in about 3 seconds.
And he has 2 seconds until he can rush.
No,
There's
he
no
has
time.
to line up.
He
He
has to get-
lines up 7 yards off the ball,
Okay.
and as soon as he sees the snap, he's going. And so we play in the gun pretty exclusively. If the snap is not great, you lose about half a second corralling the snap. And then you need to be able to set and see like one thing and make a decision and throw. Or
So
the
are you rolling out a lot?
We do it a little bit. We actually, with these trips formations, I'm generally able to scheme first read open, and we just kind of sequence it. And we have play action too that does the same thing. So we will flood the open side, right? They figure that out. They start to pre-position into the open side. We still flood it, but now we have a backside coming into the open, and then we start going to that. And that's often where we do our most damage. If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Explained.
That makes sense. Does Ian coach like Sark? Does a coach like Sark needing explosives to succeed, or does he want efficient IU offense? He wants explosives.
He's asking about me.
Oh, he's actually. Are you like Sark? Okay.
I'm the exact opposite. For whatever reason, my brain better understands and gravitates towards spread passing. I think it's superior. But part of me is also like, maybe it just makes more sense to me. So like if you play, most teams play to take away the big play, and they're like, your 11, 12-year-olds are not going to drive the field on us very often and actually finish drives with points. And it's kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
But they're daring you to do that. So then our offense is designed to be like, okay, you're daring us to dink and dunk and score efficiently. So we're going to make it our mission to be as efficient and effective at dink and dunk as we can. And so we're kind of like Brady. We are dinking and dunking a lot. And we're either counting on somebody misses a flagpole and we get down the field, or we have answers for short yardage so we can convert.
How do you convert in the red zone? You're 3 yards out. What's the play call? What's number one?
We have a play where we have a few options. We have a couple big kids outside that you can just kind of throw it up high in the air, and then they just grab it. One of them is like unbelievable. Like you just throw it anywhere. He's like freaking magnet. He's a black hole. Anything balls near him grabs it. We have the most talented team. That's the biggest factor we have. And then we have another play where we bunch up, and everybody runs the same direction, and then one guy breaks off behind the wall of. They're not picks. They're legitimate routes, Connor. Theoretically, we could throw to one.
When you're on offense, when you're the OC, they're legitimate routes.
And then that one is extremely hard to stop for a small gain. So we have that.
You need to start taping the games, dude. We need to start doing some breakdowns.
Well, I actually we have tape of the games. I'm not going to put it out there for mass consumption though, because that would be kind of, feel like that'd be a little
I'm doing
exploitative.
members only. Maybe for IT, we can, and we promise that they don't sell your secrets
I
to.
can tell you some funny stuff, but I think it'd be a little exploitative of some of these young kids to stick that out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be brutal if you're like, this receiver, he can't catch, so we have to work around him in this way. All right, everybody. Head over to Inside Texas and join for $1. If you're watching these videos, man, come join the board. There's much more information. We only cover a small sliver of this on this here channel. And of course, guys, this is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Stay tuned in at noon. We're going to drop a podcast with Drew and Jet, former football players. Basically, it's a true or false thing where we take common fan statements, what fans say all the time, and the football players tell you if it's true or not.
That's fun.
Kind of the run the damn ball type of comments you hear from fans in the stands, and if that makes any sense. And, of course, stay locked in for Night Live. Everybody, have a wonderful day, and I will see you later.